Good morning. First, let me thank Clarence Anthony and Melody Colbert King and the entire NLC family for the opportunity to join this group of tremendous mayors. I'm honored to be here. I thought about the fact that so much of the discussion was framed in the context of the recession of 2008. And I thought about it and said, that really didn't mean a whole lot for us, because in 2006, the state of Indiana passed permanent property tax caps. And by 2012, they became a part of our Constitution, meaning that residential taxpayers paid 1%, commercial 2%, and industrial taxpayers paid no more than 3%. The long and short of that was that on the day that I took office, I lost 60% of my property tax budget. And that's after running 3 times for a job. So now you know that in addition to being a job vagabond, I'm a glutton for punishment. So for us, economic resiliency really meant setting ourselves up for a comeback. And that meant first, from the perspective of a point guard, having the right team on the court. And it wasn't just about credentials, although those were important, education, experience. It wasn't just about energy, but it was also about having the heart for the community, the heart to take on what everyone understood to be a significant challenge. And so we recruited the right team. Individuals who had some type of nexus, either grew up in Gary, understood the city, had a lifelong desire to work there. And we said, come and help us to rebuild. And once you had the right team, you needed the right plan. But before you could develop that plan, you had to really understand the challenges, not just the money challenges or the resource challenges, not just the fact that for our general services department that covered 52 square miles, actually 54 square miles, thank God 2 square miles are in the lake, that started with 1,000 people and is currently populated with 23 people. Not just those challenges, but the challenges that came with image, with the fact that Gary was once seen as the murder capital of our country, with the challenges that came with the vacant and abandoned building problem, with blight, with the challenge of self-image. That when you talk to citizens, you didn't have to wait for anybody to talk down your city because they were the first ones talking negatively about the citizens. So there was a self-esteem problem. And with the challenge of low expectations from the state government, from federal government, from the business community. I was once told that U.S. Steel's strategy was not to partner with the city, but to succeed in spite of what was going on around them, even though this was the town that U.S. Steel built. And so it was a matter of really developing a mindset so that we could come up with the right plan. And so as a result of having the right team and the right ideas and the right perspective, we wanted to create a business-friendly environment an environment where expectations were high, both from a business standpoint, that you could get things done if you were a business, but that you could also get things done if you're a citizen. So that if you called General Services, if you called City Hall, that you would in fact have your request filled in a reasonable amount of time, even though there were people who were challenged getting it done. And so we used technology to make it easier, a 311 system. We worked together as a group, combining our Parks Department, General Services, our sanitary district workers, so that we could have a greater impact, and we heightened volunteerism in our city. And all of that led to the creation of economic development initiatives that were based on our assets. And so we knew that our local university, a Big Ten university, Indiana University, had been planning a building for 4 years, but they didn't think they had a good partner in the city. So I went to the president and to the local chancellor and said, if you build this $40 million business, we may not have $40 million, but we will show you the type of partner that we can be. And that building is opening next year. $40 million, right in the heart of a community that had not been invested in years, Indiana University. We also built on the asset that we had in terms of a healthcare institution, our local hospital. And so we thought that the fact that they wanted to start a trauma center, that we could partner that with the medical center at Indiana University, and again, build on a community asset where someone else was willing to do the investment. And so they are in the process of making a $30 million investment through an ER renovation and through the building of ICU suites. Again, an investment that the city didn't have to make. But we also understood the importance of innovation. And so we created, in 2014, the first public-private partnership, or the only public-private partnership that was done at an airport, at the Gary, Chicago Regional Airport. And certainly, Mr. Fallow, you can fly in there at any time. But we understood that it wasn't only important to get investment on the airport, but in its footprint. And so we have that innovation. And we also decided that we would turn our challenges into assets. Vacant and abandoned buildings plague the city, over 6,500 properties. But just recently, the Steel City Exchange has been created to not only develop a deconstruction project or build on deconstruction that's going on in Gary, but to create jobs for Gary residents. The Art House, also supported by the Knight Foundation and Bloomberg, is something that addresses the need for restaurants in Gary, but creates a centerpiece for our downtown right across from the baseball stadium, creating activity and synergy. Innovation built around the fact that we have a food desert, and so we have urban farming and other food activity, a food park, all being developed, and the understanding that art can be a driver for economic development. For us, economic resiliency is really understanding that rebuilding occurs in little steps, because it's easy to build something it's a much greater challenge to rebuild, especially in the face of historic issues like deindustrialization, like the loss of half of your population, like a citizenry who really aren't sure that government is going to do what they say they're going to do. But whenever I think about the challenges that we have, and one of the things that I understand that rebuilding, especially in a city like ours, isn't for the faint of heart. I think about a favorite song that says, when you have done all you can, you just stand. And the good news is that I don't have to stand alone. I'm able to stand with a phenomenal team. I'm able to stand with corporate partners who invest every day. I'm able to stand with government at every level, federal, state, and county. And yes, I'm able to stand with organizations like the National League of Cities and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. But the thing that's so significant to me is that I'm able to stand with people who come to Gary as new citizens every day, and then with our legacy residents. There's a lot of talk about legacy cities, cities that have seen better times, that are rebuilding on their legacies. But I like to talk about legacy residents, folks who came to Gary a long time ago, some from Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, who found their future or who sought their future in the steel mills, who built homes, raised their families, and who have now retired or some lost jobs, but who are still there, standing and counting. Those are my former teachers. Sunday school, high school, neighbors, classmates. And I have to tell you, it is my distinct privilege to stand with and work on behalf of those citizens every day. And it is for them that we create economic resiliency. Thank you.